Okay. Greetings and salutations. Good morning.
Good morning.
Randy Burge in the house. The theme of this conversation is based around the notion that as elders, we have lifetimes worth of experience, and the quest is to extract people's lived experience for the benefit of younger people and for the community at large. I'm going to say a few words about Randy, and then I'm going to let Randy answer some questions. We go back about 25 years.
I'd say 30, but close.
Okay. I know Randy from the economic development and tech transfer world of 20 years ago. What can you say about that?
Well, I spent many years in the economic development circles here in New Mexico. Started off working in the State Office of Economic Development in Santa Fe doing business recruitment to the state. And so in that job, I was exposed to all kinds of issues around New Mexico. And from that, I drew a lot of information and a lot of ideas that came out of that. How can we take advantage of the things we have here technologically, naturally, creatively? And so that led me on a path to get involved in the technology circles and cycles of New Mexico. One thing I realized early on was that there were two things that we would brag about when I was out on the road talking to businesses in other states and trying to convince them to come to New Mexico. One was we had the world's fastest supercomputers, and the other was we had more PhDs per capita than any state in the country. And so my quest in starting the things that I did, the Tech Council, starting the New Mexico Tech Council, things like that, was to build a community around that. And through various adventures, I prevailed in that for many years. But I did learn that we were not really taking advantage of those two assets. One, supercomputing was behind the fence at Sandia in Los Alamos and not very accessible to outside entities. The other was those same PhDs were behind the fence working on their own projects. And so while we had this wealth of talent and wisdom, we didn't have access to them necessarily. It wasn't organic in the commercial sense. So anyway, my career led me to do some things that helped overcome some of that.
What are you doing now, currently?
Well, I would have to say probably semi-retired in a sense, and looking for various opportunities related to renewable energy. I've been around that for probably 50 years almost at this point. My dad had a business, and we installed solar voltaic systems on remote well casings and pipelines around the country. So we were one of the larger installers of photovoltaics back in the late 70s, early 80s.
We call that early adopters.
Right, yeah. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But so I'm working in that area. Also, I'm active on several boards. The Albuquerque Press Club has always been near and dear to me because of my press background. I used to be a columnist for the Tribune and the now Albuquerque Business First publication. So anyway, I'm on the board there. I'm also on the board of the Whittlesey House Preservation Foundation, which is the home of the Albuquerque Press Club. And my other volunteer endeavor is with the Atomic Art Foundation, based in Santa Fe, working with the art by Tony Price, who was a famous sculptor who created various sculptures from the salvage jars of Los Alamos National Lab.
Some discarded metal.
Yes, and other objects. So yeah. So anyway, that's keeping me busy now.
Okay. One of the themes that I want to dig into specifically is what would you like to transmit and communicate to younger people today that you feel would be of benefit for them as they're coming up in the world?
Right. Well, I had the pleasure of growing up on a farm in northwest New Mexico, just south of the state line, south of Durango. And so that was outdoor central. There was any direction you wanted to go, you were going to be in the remote wilderness, essentially. And so I grew up exploring that a little bit. So it really connected me to nature in a new way, or not a new way, but a way that was handy to me. And people who grew up in cities tend to not have that same experience. And people who grow up in the technological age that we're in right now, especially, don't have access back to that grounding that I think is very important. And so, my number one advice is for people to get outdoors and explore, back to the native lands, see things, live part of that life, and let the wonder seep in.
I kind of recall you mentioning that kids growing up today, and a lot of people don't remember what it was like before cell phones. They've grown up with screens as part of their everyday life, and that was not something that was true when I was growing up.
Right, right. So the digital natives, people that have never lived in a world without those screens, are especially challenged to reconnect in a way to the past and also the present, and looking at going to the future as well. So my biggest advice is for people to be aware of past, present, and the future in their own context, but explore those dimensions. That, in my opinion, helps you keep grounded, keeps you grounded.
One of the things that I've observed about you is that you're a consummate photographer, and you take a lot of pictures, and you take pictures of places that are remote and that are otherworldly. Can you speak on that?
Sure. The it's kind of funny. We're talking about technology and the camera and the screens, and I'm often out taking pictures with one of those devices, right? So there's always a screen between me and what I'm seeing, if you want to argue that. But what I counter that with the notion that by having that camera in my hand and seeing the picture and the light and the setting and the distance and the or up close the stones and the trees and the all that, it just really makes me aware, paying attention. When I'm on my hikes, I'm looking around constantly, absorbing that environment, and that's the kind of reconnection I'm talking about. Now you can do that same thing in the city too. The active present city that you're living in, you can go through that, notice things. And so I'm taking pictures of those things I notice. It's little art objects, if you will. Every time I glance around, I see beauty in a way, and even in some of the ugly situations you might find.
Let's go back to nature. Could you share some of the places that you're talking about?
Sure. One of the most prominent ones here in New Mexico actually is called Valley of Dreams. It's pretty remote, hard to get to. It's about a 3 mile round trip hike into from the trailhead, and it is the most amazing palace, if you will, of stone sculptures that you'll probably see anywhere in the country, or if not, no.
That's near where? Aztec?
No, it's actually you go to Nagizi off of 550 and turn and go about 20 miles in, and there's no signs, so you really need to have someone. Although it is on All Trails and Google, it's now such a place. The the thing I see there, though, and one of the things that impresses me and also worries me is the destruction of some of those sculptures. Last time I went out there, there was a mother with her 3 or 4 kids, and single mother probably, but they were just climbing all over the stuff. It was like a jungle gym, and these are stones that have sat in their place for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and here they're climbing all over them, toppling some of them. So I had a few things to say to them.
Dang. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Right. Randy,
Sir.
I recall you telling me about your athletics in high school. You were on a basketball team?
Right. High school team.
Could you address that, please?
Sure. I'll try to give the abbreviated version because it's a long story, but basically, I grew up on a farm, so it was kind of up to my own enthusiasms to find out what I was going to do with my time, and so sports was one of them. Throwing the football, playing baseball, you always need somebody else to do that with, right? But if you got a basketball hoop and a ball, you can shoot all you want. So there was a basketball court that was built there in the local village of Cedar Hill, and so I used it as my place to go and shoot and play and dream. And but the quick story is, I was on the ninth grade. Ninth grade at that time was in the junior high school, so I was on the ninth grade team, a team that never won a game. I was the second team on the ninth grade. And so that shows you or tells you where I started from and a very remote part of the state, so forth. No basketball tradition, whatnot. But I had this goal to be starting varsity my sophomore year. And by God, I accomplished it. I worked my ass off to put it lightly, and achieved that dream. Unfortunately, we were on another losing team. We were, I think, 8-16 that year. Again, no basketball tradition. We kept playing. I kept bringing people into the court. People would ride their bike 5 and 10 miles to get there to shoot with us. And so this was this notion of service above self, coming together, like pulling people together, bringing, uniting people in a new way. And so we just kept at it. And one day, it was in the summer, it started raining. And so we had the idea, well, let's call one of the kids' dad had been the former coach at Aztec High School. So we called him and said, hey, can we get in the gym? He said, no, we'll call the coach. So we did. And he started letting us in. And so pretty soon, not just out at Cedar Hill, but in Aztec, kids were coming and playing 24 all year long. And so my junior year, we were, what were we, 20-8, something like that. And so this started working. And then my senior year, we were 25-2, number one in the state, this and that. And unfortunately, we got the New Mexico Athletic Association changed the rules after that year because we were number one in the state. We had defeated every team in our conference by 20, 30 points. Their place, our place, didn't matter. And we had to travel from Aztec to Belen to play a semifinal game for our district tournament. District tournament champs go to and we lost by 2 points. So it was crushing, but which also was a big lesson to have worked so hard and to not achieve that goal. But fast forward, it was really a teaching moment, and it showed me that the power of just involving people in a community without ego, in a sense, just bring people together, and it naturally evolved to what we accomplished in 2 or 3 short years. And I've carried that knowledge forward and started the Tech Council for one. Another thing I did that's still active, actually, probably 37, 38 years, drawing on my economic development background, I helped I initiated the idea to create a economic development training school or a basic school for economic development practitioners in our cities and state and around the state. There's professional things you can go to, but I started that to make the mayors and the business people and all these others in the community understand what the challenges are, what the town has to do to really participate in the economic development game. And that got started at Western New Mexico University. It's been going on since I think the late 80s, early 90s, 91, 89, something like that. But it's that idea to catalyze people, and that's what the basketball taught me. Just bring people together, let community form, and then let it go. So,
Bravo.
yeah. So basketball was very important in my. It showed me if you try, you can succeed.
So you've touched on values. Could you expand on your values?
Well, being I was the tallest guy on the team. For example, I'm 6'4", so that sounds tall, but when you're in college basketball or a lot of high school basketball these days, that's not very tall. And so, playing with kids of all sizes, it taught me that everybody has a special role to play in on a team. And one of my great things that was always a source of, I guess, pride. I'm not sure, but I could walk into a gym and pick some of the lowest talented players on the court, and you were playing one-on-one or pickup ball with a team of people that are hot shots and they could shoot, but they're always trying to do it themselves. They're always trying to, and if you just get the team working, they hold their own, if not actually, and sometimes prevail and win the game. Uh, the 5-on-5 or whatever. And so, just seeing those kids since that spark that they can do something that they never thought they could. And so I always kind of treasured that. Actually, one, if you don't mind, one summer after my JC ball, I came back and at the time there was a coach at UNM named Norm Ellenberger, and I'd actually really wanted to go to UNM and play, and I got an offer to go, but I chose not to because of some issues that later prevailed, and he was fired, and I had a sense that something like that was going on, so I chose not to. But anyway, he gave me the opportunity to coach at his camp one summer over at UNM Johnson Gym, and there was so most of it was probably it was a camp where kids stayed at the dorms, so it wasn't just town kids being dropped off by their parents necessarily. Although there was one young woman who was a little bit pudgy, a little overweight. She was the only girl in the whole camp. Now, I don't think she stayed at the camp. I think her mom dropped her off every morning. But this little girl was so terrified. You can imagine a 10, 12-year-old girl in a boys' basketball camp. She's overweight. And then I got the chance to see her mom, and she was it was like a fat camp to the mom. Like, you good daughter, you got to lose some weight here. You got to, and so my 4, 5, 6 guys, they were all like, "Oh God, we got this girl on our team." We got, I called them together and I said, "Hey, look, this girl doesn't want to be here. She gets made fun of." I said, "You guys watch out for her. You take care of her," and they did. It was pretty magical. Like, who are you talking to? Sort of thing. And we were shooting free throws once, and shoot it till you make it till you miss. And she made like 3 in a row and just blew her mind. She was so happy and so elated, and all the kids were like cheering her on. So anyway, you asked about basketball. That's kind of a culminating story that I treasure of my basketball days and seeing how it affects the community.
Mm-hmm. So the takeaway so far from our conversation is invest in others.
Absolutely.
And create alliances and form teams. You know how kids are doing that today? They're playing video games internationally. They're linked up with people in other countries that they've never met, may not even speak the same language, and they don't even know it, but they're on these video game teams.
Oh, right. I think was it UNM or some team from one of our schools here did really well. I can't remember which one it was. It was on the news recently.
Yeah. And then the other is to take a busload of kids out on the highway to the with the Valley of Dreams, the Valley.
Valley of Dreams, yeah, that's the name it was given. I don't know who did it. It's just one of those things. That's what shows up on Google Maps or whatever. Is Valley of Dreams.
Walk through the Valley of Dreams without jumping on them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was a little bit. I was a little bit not harsh, but those kids that were jumping on things, I was pretty stern, I should say, and I felt a little bit bad about that because they were just. But they need to know that these things are not, that they're fragile and that they've been there for, eons of time, and you don't just destroy them because you're spastic or something.
And you've also touched on mentorship.
Right.
And that's a way of investing in younger people.
Right. Yeah. Volunteerism is probably the epitome of service above self. Being involved, giving back. I can't tell you how many different organizations I've been involved in. Explora Science Center, I was on that board for like 15 years, but seeing that organization evolve in their back then it was new facility. I had the pleasure of joining the board when it just opened that new building, which is now 20 some years old. But seeing how that affects the community and being and the mentoring that goes on there. I was downtown at at the 50, what is it, Humble Coffee at 505, the food court downtown on Central. I was in there, and somehow the barista, young woman, somehow we got on the conversation and found out that she had been one of the interns at Explora, and I asked her what she was doing, and she was studying psychology at UNM. And anyway, back to this notion of connecting. I'm trying to remember the name of the book, but I actually went out and bought it for her and took it back to her because she was wondering what she was going to do in psychology. You could become a therapist, you can do those sorts of things. And I said, no, there's a whole other side of life with the technology taking over our lives. There's a lot of opportunity to apply those skills you're learning in your psychology in a way that affects, it changes the dynamics.
The community at large.
Yeah, exactly. And so, anyway, I'm rambling here.
Well, we're going to wrap up.
Okay.
So, would you like to have the last word? A summation?
Well, service above self, I think, is the defining motto. Just invest yourself in people around you, and amazing things can happen. And it's a seed planted that someday grows into the mighty oak. And I've been fortunate to be able to do that a few times in various capacities. Planting the seed. Now, many other people carried it forward and made it happen, but I was the one that planted the seed in this notion of service above self.
Thank you, Randy.
Sure, thank you.
Bada bing.